Hi there, guys. I'm just going to take you through planning a hole. This hole is a par 5, and I'm just going to show you a few tips and tricks to help you understand how to break down the course and to plan how you're going to play uh, a hole. Okay, so here we have a par 5, and this par 5 has a feature which is essentially it's got a very big descent after the main landing area. So there is a main landing area around about here. Let me show you. So main intended landing area for most people is around about there. So where I put this little blue dot, that's where the course designer expects you to play. Um, but of course, you can go for more. And the feature of this hole is this first shot here is actually a blind shot if you hit further, because past this red line here is a massive descent. So there is a big drop. So it goes down, down, down all the way to the water here, and then it comes all the way back up. So if you get stuck down here, your trajectory changes. So if you're all the way up by the water, you're basically skimming a stone. Uh, but they've made it so that this backing here of this green will stop the ball. So if you do skip it up onto the green, it should probably end up on this backside um, in a bit of rough here and on a little bit of a hill, which might give you an awkward chip. But it does save you from going over the green. So that's a feature of the hole. Um, and so the course designer expects us to play right about here. And if you're if you are more adventurous, you're going to play up along here. And if you're a really long hitter, you might even aim for this section up here. And if you're a world driving legend or something like that, then maybe you're going to be able to hit all the way up here. But that's pretty unlikely because we're talking about a 400-yard sort of drive there. This here is about a 300 plus drive, so talking professionals could hit up here, and your scratch golf is more going to be hitting to this yellow area here. While most golfers are going to be hitting to this blue section here. And this is actually where they've designed in most of the interesting features. So you can see that this here is starting to pinch in on the fairway. So they're trying to discourage you hitting further. Not only is it blind, not only does it start descending from here, but they're also pinching the fairway in to make it less likely for you to try to hit further. So for most people, they're going to hit around about here on their first shot. Their second shot, they're going to try and land it in this section here. And then on the final shot, they're going to try and skip it up onto the green. But the problem is, if you do land in this landing area here, you're going to have this kind of trajectory into the green, which is going to give you an awkward chip off the back. And so the design of this par 5 is essentially an awkward chip off the back of the green to try and scramble for a par. So this is essentially a hole that's trying to get you to a position where you have an awkward downhill chip and off of a bit of rough so that it's testing you to see if you can make par. However, if you are a longer hitter, that's not what this hole does whatsoever. If you're a long enough hitter and you get past this pinched area of this this fairway here, it is actually these these trees aren't as much of an issue as you might initially think. They are trees that you will have to hit out of or lay up. But the way this design is, or this hole is already designed, is for you to lay up to this position. So if you do end up in these trees from a long hit and then you lay up a little short, you're not going to be too penalized for going for the next shot. So in on this hole specifically, I would say that those trees to the right are really only stopping you from getting all the benefit out of the hole. So it's worth taking a risk of hitting offline to the right-hand side because at worst, you have to lay up, and that's what you're going to be doing from the normal position off the tee anyways. This is going to lay up. Well, hitting from here or from here and laying up to here and then letting the hill sort of trickle it down, that's not going to punish you. So those trees, they're just there as a slight deterrent and maybe so that you lose your ball, but they're not a big issue. So the big feature of this hole is this slope. This is the nasty thing that you have to fight in this hole. So once you are in this layup area, which is the best position to be on your second shot if you've laid up, you have this nasty trajectory. Not only is it you are you hitting uphill, but you are also hitting with a descending blow, which is going to take dynamic loft off your clubs, which is going to make it shoot much lower than normal. And for a lot of people, they're going to have to hit it on this part of the slope and try and like run it up. And there's a couple things to notice here is because all of this is a descending slope, it means it's going to push it out to the right. So whenever you're hitting off a downhill lie, it's going to be pushing your ball out to the right. So your shot, as you come out here, and if you try and hit it onto this little fairway patch here and skim it up to the hole, you're going to be catching likely this bunker, or if you're a left-handed player and it's a pull, this downhill sends you the other way, it pushes you the other way, you're going to be hitting this bunker. And that's the way that this is designed. So the course designer looked at this descending hill and they thought, we're going to use that to make this a challenging hole. And so that's what they've done. So that's why those bunkers are right there and right there. And they are ahead of the green a sizable way, not to catch descending shots, but to catch shots that are skipping up, which means you're in this layup position here. So the course designer has planned it for you to do this, this, and then potentially hitting in here, and you're going to hit this bunker or hit that bunker. Or if you hit long, you're going to have an awkward chip shot from this back rim. So in understanding and breaking down what the course designer is trying to do, then from there, you can try to comprehend how are you going to break the mold here. Now, the obvious way for people to break the mold is to hit further. So if you were to land in this zone here, which requires you to hit about 250 yards carry to 275, 300 yards carry, in this location here, if you're capable of that, it is going to be a blind shot. So you're going to be hitting blind to this spot, but you can go over the mid of this bunker or over the the edge of this bunker as your aiming line and hit to this position. So this is the marker that from the tee. This is the marker that tells you where the center of the fairway is. And in knowing that, you can try to hit for this. The only problem is these trees out here are somewhat of a psychological hazard, and this is also out of bounds. So if you hit it into here, scuff it, whatever, then you've got problems. So on this hole, it's actually secretly wiser to hit a little bit further to the right. The reason being is this area here isn't as penalizing as you think, and you can always make a layup. And if you do hit a little bit left, then you're in perfect position. And you're basically taking out of bounds, out of play. So the reasonably smart shot, if your hitting driver, is to hit a little bit further than outside this bunker edge. So between here and here, if your aim line is here, yes, you might end up in the trees here, but you're probably going to end up short of it. And once the ball hits the ground, because it's a descending slope and kind of doglegging to the left, it's going to actually bounce left. So it's going to follow this descent this way and come back into the into the fairway. So making those notes, we understand what the hole is doing and then how to break it. If we get here, then it is much easier, or it is actually possible to get to this location. And if you get anywhere here on your second shot over the water, you do have a very awkward and difficult pitch to the hole above you, but this is going to catch the backside if you roll past, and if you get on the green anywhere, that's, that's a birdie chance. So that's what you want to be looking for on this hole. So what I like to do is I like to break down the hole into zones so that I can consider all this. So what you see here is I've marked red here as where you really don't want to go. And orange is just kind of, it's not really the worst shot in the world, but it's not ideal. So you can still scramble and save par, and at worst, maybe hit a bogey or something like that. So orange isn't the worst in the world. And yellow here, yeah, you're going to have a bit of a difficulty of a shot. And green is, ideal landing locations. So the design of this hole is for you to land in this first orange zone here. And I've marked it orange because that's actually not a very good place to land. You're kind of losing a shot. So it's actually equal to hitting in these trees over here. Because if you land here, you still got a semi-difficult shot to land it in this green section layup zone here. You could hit too far, go into the water. You could hit something left, go out of bounds. You could hit it again into the trees and then not have a shot at the pin, or not even a shot at getting over the water. So this here is actually where it's designed to hit is actually pretty penalizing already. So all these trees and this early fairway are marked basically the same, because when we're talking about our next shot, they have the same effect. We're laying up and we're trying to lay up to this zone, and we don't have a perfect or easy shot to do so. Um, so then we look here where we've got this yellow zone. The reason I've marked this as yellow and not green is because of this slope. So you're always going to be hitting from this descending slope and trying to cover this water. That makes it kind of difficult for the next shot. Of course, you could just chip to this green area and you'd be fine, but then you've got this skimming stone thing in the next shot. So that's not what you want. So if you do land anywhere in this yellow zone here, you have a chance to go for this in two. So to this landing area up here where it says pull. When you know that you can, if you can carry that and get to there, then you're just going to have a chip or a pitch onto this green and you're going to have a chance to make birdie. But it's not going to be super easy. So that's why this is yellow here. If you were a super driver and you got to this green zone, you're almost like 50% of the time hitting for eagle. So that's a ridiculously good place to land if you could, but you're probably not going to. You're probably going to land right in the trees here or out of bounds, like because you're hitting that far. And here's a little rule that I like to use. So I like to think that a 1 in 20 shot for the distance is a perfect shot. So if you see these little dots here, this is about okay, so this marker here is 300 yards. This is 200 yards and this is 100 yards. And if you can see this gap is 100 yards and it's about a quarter of that. So it's about 25 yards that these markers are. So if we're talking about hitting at 250 or something like that, then this right here is what I would consider like a good shot. So we can see that this fairway is actually pretty wide. It's pretty wide open. It's pretty generous. It's not narrow whatsoever. You've actually got range here to kind of hit a, a fair bit offline. So you can be pretty confident in your shot here that it's not going to be too far offline. And if you're hitting across this safer line across here, you've easy got like this channel up here to hit through for your best shot. And this is the channel that you do want to hit to. So you want to be carrying about 225, 230 minimum on your drive and up to like about 275, 300. And then if you can get into this zone right here, that's ideal. And then you're going to be playing a shot that's going to have a little more arc to it coming into the green or coming into this spot here. And that is how I plan the hole. So what I'm doing is I'm just breaking down where the risks are, where the dangers are, and what the features of it are, how it's been designed. And once you have this knowledge, then you can determine different ways to play. So you can think about your different clubs. So right here, in this landing zone, you can use irons, right? Your irons can get you there. And then you can hit another iron to get you, you know, up here. And then another iron to get you here. And if that's how you want to play it, you're playing like trying to scramble for a par on this par 5. You can absolutely do that. That's a strategy you can have, but it's definitely not optimum. So if you don't have distance in your book that day, you can definitely do this because this is one of the challenging holes of the course. and so one that actually requires strategy. And so you could do this because if you're not a scratch golfer and you're just playing within yourself, this is probably a smart play. Play an iron off the tee, or wood, then another iron, and it could be as simple as like you're hitting yourself like a 5 iron off the tee, you then hit a 9 iron or 8 iron, 7 iron down to this landing zone here, and then you can hit another 9 iron or 7 iron up to here, and then chip up. And that could be a good play. So that's your super safe play. You're kind of losing half a stroke on that hole, but that's a decent way to play it. That's the first option. The second option is you play a wood off the tee. You play like a 3 wood or a 5 wood, and you try to land in this zone here. Even though it's pinching in with the fairway, if you land up here, you're going to have a very clean and easy shot to this layup hole. And if you get a good bounce, if you get a bit lucky, you might even be able to go for this zone here. If you're feeling good, if the lie is good and whatnot. So this landing here is playing for par. It can give you an opportunity to try and go for it, but it can also force you to lay up. So personally, if you do land here, it's kind of a weird hole. It's it's kind of either pushing you towards half a stroke loss or half a stroke gain on this hole. So it doesn't really allow you to play purely for par. It's a bit awkward to play it for par. So because if you do land here, then once you hit to here, you've still got this awkward shot up to here, which, 50% chance from these bunkers that it catches a shot that's rolling up, and even more chance that if you go past that, that you hit this backdrop here and then you have an awkward chip. So those features make it so it's like a 50-50 shot if you're hitting from here that you're going to be able to scramble to make par. So, and depending on your skill level, maybe it's even worse. So that zone right here is kind of a risk reward zone. So if we're landing it here, it's risk versus reward. It depends how you hit the next shot and whether you can get over this water or not. That is going to determine everything about this hole. So the drive should be relatively simple because you can actually hit out here. It's not a problem. You can hit out to here. You got a big zone. And even if you do, then you just have to kind of like punch it out under here. You're fine. But if you're gonna go for this, you need to be in a nice prime position with a nice lie, and you need to be confident that when you hit the next shot, that you're gonna have enough trajectory and distance to make it over this water and to get to this spot. And if you can do that, you can play for birdie. But if you don't and you have to lay up, then you're bringing bogey into play. So even though that's the way the hole's designed, it's it is actually dangerous to head for this zone. Unless if your woods aren't working that day, you don't feel super confident, then you absolutely want to go here, not up here. And that's something to feel out and to know and to understand about this hole. Then if you do land in this yellow zone here, further up here, because you hit a long drive, you are golden. Because not only are you a long hitter, which is going to give you a lot of trajectory off this second lie here, you're going to get higher trajectory. It's going to be much more reasonable of a shot. You've got this wide open landing location. Then as you're hitting it up to even just to this position, but you can actually try and go for the green. So you're in a birdie position here, birdie chance here, and if you are able to hit it far enough, you got a chance potentially at eagle. So this hole really rewards you if you can hit long, and you're confident enough to hit blind. So if we can maximize off the tee for this specific hole, then essentially we're making this challenging incoming shot easier. Meaning length for this hole makes it significantly easier on the incoming shot, the next coming shot. If you're trapped by distance on this hole, you're going to suffer and you're going to struggle with sometimes hitting bogey, sometimes hitting, maybe going for birdie. It's going to be one of those divisive holes where it goes either way. So in knowing that, you don't want to get too greedy and just try and hit crazy far, because hey, if you hit out over to the left, then you're screwed. Or if you are super wild, then hey, you're going to be just hitting into this layup zone anyway. So don't get too cocky, but do try to get a nice clean shot on this hole. Just and try and land it anywhere through here. And if you're long enough up here, and if you can do that, you're going to be in a perfect position for the next shot where you can get way more aggressive with an iron or a high-ended wood and try and get to the green here. So this is how I would generally break down a hole or a course. Is yes, you do measurements to determine how much width you have, how much range of error you have, but you really want to break down the design of the course, how they're trying to get you to play, what the lie is going to do. So this downhill lie is going to create a lower trajectory. It's also going to push you out to the right. And once you understand that, or if you're a left-handed golfer, it's going to push you out to the left. And once you understand that and the feature of these trees, you can start putting together multiple different plans for how you want to attack this hole. For different clubs, so for your irons, for if you're going to use a wood off the tee, if you're going to use a driver off the tee. And yeah, on this hole, it's pretty intimidating to hit driver because it's blind. It just drops off a cliff. You can't really see where you're going to land. But if you're super confident about this lead bunker here and just hitting it, like, just get your start window sort of around here. If your ball goes through that window, you're good. So you're probably not going to reach the trees. And you just factor that in, like you you do measure these trees. You see how far you're going to carry, if you're going to carry into them or not. And on this case, you have to hit over 300 yards to kind of carry into these trees. So even though it is downhill, so you do get a bit more distance, it's not the worst, even if you do. So you don't try to worry about that, and you do preference and bias the right hand side. And that is how I would go through that hole. So there's basically a risk reward structure here where the risk of hitting further far outweighs being conservative. Being conservative on this hole basically means you taking the punishment um, straight away. It's like, okay, yes, bully me, please, and and make me struggle on this hole. So courage pays off in this hole. Hit it as long as you can, um, and it's okay if it goes off to the right into the trees. And that's the moral of this hole. That's what it's trying to teach you. That's how it's trying to get you to play. And that is a simple breakdown of how to get the lay of the land of the hole and to figure out what the designer is doing. All right, I hope that helps.